still those shrill voices in the national political arena trying to undo what has finally been done. But they're not going to succeed. Don't worry about it. No, really. I mean this sincerely. The American people have moved so far beyond them and their appeals to prejudice and fear and homophobia. The American people are already with you. Look at the numbers. There's homophobes still left. Most of them are running for president, I think.
That, of course, Vice President Joe Biden, not currently running for president, suggesting during a speech for the Human Rights Campaign that the current crop of Republican candidates might be homophobes. Was he just being funny? You can make the call. Despite his not yet announcing that he's in the race for his party's nomination, Biden continues to grow in the polls. Noah, I got to ask you, is this swipe at the GOP kind of an indication that he's going to run, even though you think that he isn't?
Yeah, well, I think that he's probably not going to run because of a lot of technical reasons. I don't think he's going to want to spend a lot of time raising money, building the organization, etc. What that comment reflects is that he's still very much a political animal. He does what he feels like would work in the moment. It's what happens to Donald Trump, which sort of doesn't really get him into trouble, but it gets Joe Biden into tons of trouble. Yeah. It's exactly why he got into so much problems.
But you just said something really interesting, and you're right. When Donald Trump, hits that lowbrow, right, he doesn't get in trouble. In fact, he gets rewarded for it. But it is getting Joe Biden in trouble.
Well, it doesn't get him in trouble with his base voters. His base voters ate that up. They also ate when he was in the room and said that Republicans want to put you all back in chains. The audience loved it. It killed. It didn't kill with the audience that it wasn't intended to be received. That's the problem, is that we live in a world where you can't micro-target anymore. You have to talk to a mass audience no matter what.
So, Bill, I should say we, the media, the mainstream media, whatever you want to call it, do we overreact to what, to me, appeared to be just somebody being funny, but then I'm supportive of Joe Biden, so maybe I'm cutting him a bigger break than somebody else might. But do we overreact to it?
Yeah, I think we do. But again, he's a political animal. He's playing to an audience, and he got the reaction he wanted to because he couldn't help himself. He had to play to that audience. But as a Republican with many gay friends, it's a silly, stupid comment.
Right. Well, I mean, we know better. We know even among the presidential candidates, stories that we've heard that would suggest they certainly aren't all homophobes.
Right. Homophobia is defined as what was the Democratic standard position 30 months ago. Opposition to gay marriage.
And on that note, that's pretty good. Let's move on to the GOP race, where the latest Pew poll shows that Donald Trump still is leading the field with 25% of the GOP vote, while Dr. Ben Carson, who, by the way, will be on the Steve Malzberg show tomorrow at 7 p.m., he comes in second now with 16% support. Meanwhile, Senator Marco Rubio and Carly Fiorina are presently tied for third with 8%, with Senator Ted Cruz following in fourth with 6%. Note that former Florida Governor Jeb Bush has now sunk to just 4% of the vote. The poll also highlights that the primary reason Trump continues to dominate is his stance on immigration. Bill Tucker, you covered immigration for many years with what was that guy's name? Lou Dobbs, I believe, was the person. Is this issue going to carry Trump all the way to the nomination?
Yeah, and let me set it in some context. The reason people are engaged and get passionate about immigration is because it's tied to employment. There are a lot of people out there who feel like, rightly or wrongly, that they are being displaced from their jobs that could be rightly theirs. They feel like their salaries are being depressed because of the flood of illegal immigration into the country. So that set in the context of employment, yes, it's going to drive him, and it will continue to be a big issue for him.
Yeah, you could be right, Joe. I don't know about you. I really am surprised that Jeb Bush, I mean, you know that I was saying at the outset of all this that I thought Jeb Bush would be the ultimate nominee, and I still kind of wonder if he might, but I am shocked by the 4%. Can he do anything to turn this around?
No, he can't, unfortunately. Yeah, look at what happened after the Oregon shooting. And again, this was journalistic malfeasance, what they did with his comment about stuff happens. As if the context was, stuff happens, what are you going to do? Some kids got
really
shot.
The way he said it.
Of course not. He meant tragedies happen, but he's so inartful, right? And here's the thing. George W. Bush, 43, was an artful also. So was 41, but they were likable. Right. There's something about Jeb that looks like he's kicking and screaming just to be put out in public. He's not joyful. There's nothing likable about him. He's got the Bush brand name to go overcome.
Which is kind of interesting because it was Jeb Bush who said at the very beginning he only wanted to run if it could be a joyful campaign. Those were his words.
Anything but, and as I said, Bush, Bush, Bush. People hear it, they don't want a third Bush.
Amazing.
Rick, it's bottom line. That's what we're saying.
Well, you could be right. I honestly am surprised. I didn't think it would go this low. Now, as we mentioned, tomorrow night, beginning at 7 p.m. Eastern, Dr. Ben Carson sits down with Steve Malzberg 1-to-1 to discuss his latest surge in the polls. The question is, can he surpass current poll leader Donald Trump? You can find out in his own words tomorrow night at 7 p.m., but only here on Newsmax TV. And we always want to know what you think. Dr. Ben Carson and Donald Trump are locked in the battle to lead the GOP. Will either of them be your candidate? Let us know. NewsmaxPolls.com. Coming right up, an American bomb kills 22 in Afghanistan.